What's up, y'all? I am the goddess, and I want to share with y'all how I got to this point. First of all, shout out to the 31 subscribers. You feel me? Like we getting up there, period. And my my goal is to hit 5,000 views, and I'm almost at that goal. I just want to say I appreciate y'all for the support, and it really mean a lot to me. So from time to time, I'm gonna do like an appreciation post when I go live, right? I'm so nervous. Okay. So the thumbnail for this video is Poetic Justice, and I'm wearing my Poetic Justice shirt, right? So in the movie, Tupac name was Lucky, right? So I was like, Lucky. And lucky means shining light, right? So 7 is like one of my numbers. And I grew up off that movie. So I just felt like putting that as my thumbnail. Um okay, so I'm gonna start from how did I get to this point of being spiritual, right? Before I was born, my family prayed over my mother's womb, right? And I don't know, I guess they felt that something about that particular pregnancy, they felt that the energy that I was going to be someone. They didn't know exactly who, but they knew that I was going to be something someday. And so they did spiritual warfare. They prayed over my mother's womb and spoke life into her womb, right? So around that same time, before you're born, your guardians choose you, right? They know when you're coming. They know everything about you. So I have several guardian angels. I have several, yeah, guardian angels. Um, Only 3 have revealed themselves to me, right? So the first one that stepped forward is a Native American chief, and he was well respected in the village. He was a very tall, copper colored Native American with dramatically long hair, which most Native Americans have long hair anyway because their tradition is to not cut their hair. Your hair is your strength. And he studied the stars. He would sit under a oak tree, and oak trees are very spiritual. He sat under an oak tree by rivers and just would study the sky, the stars, the moon, the sun, day and night. I don't know if he was like that was his therapy, or if he was communicating, or if that's how he meditated. And he also played a flute, right, during ceremonies. So I went and bought me a flute. And every time I play it, I get chills. Like I feel so spiritually connected. Whether if you know it or not, when the history matters as to where you come from. And when you find out different things that your ancestors did, and you go and get like the same items that they use, you tap into their divinity. Because when they pass away, they pass down their gifts to you, right? Which is why it's good to break generational curses. So the second guardian that stepped forward is a woman who was from England. She was from a wealthy family. She was she had like a political status where people respected her, and she did things for the community. Uh, she was of European descent, and she dealt with like the law and justice and stuff like that. So I was like, damn, that's deep because I'm a Libra, right? So um and she had like a heart of gold and she was very wealthy. So she was the type of wealthy person, almost like a Princess Diana. Like she's wealthy, but you may not know she's wealthy because she's down to earth and she will give you her last. Whether or not if she knew if she had like the resources to give it, she just being a giving person. So the third person that stepped forward is my great grandmother. She was um she was enslaved, and she was, in modern terms, she was like um she was like the big mama of the plantation. So she was strong. She was, you know, regardless of the situation that she was put in, she was the one that everyone went to if they felt sick. She would heal them. She would get her hands dirty. She would, it takes a village to raise a child. So even when she didn't have small children, she helped with the children in the village. I'm getting chills right now. And so moving forward, when I was born, I would see spirits. And at the time, I didn't know what was going on. Like I didn't know why I saw, paranormal activity going on, but I always knew that I was different. Majority of the time, I never told people that I would like experience these things. I would just keep it to myself and I would talk to them and interact with them. But when back in the early 90s, TV shows and things like that, they would tell you, they would promote the fact that you should use your imagination, right? So I was using my imagination, but the things that I was seeing, they were really there. Like I would go to church with my grandmother and her children, and we passed the cemetery on the way to church, and there was this big oak tree that sat far back from the road. And this particular Sunday, we was passing by, and I saw two little girls like between the ages of 3 to 6. They were running around the oak tree playing like tag or ring around the rosy or like duck goose or something like that, but they had their hand on the tree and they were running around, running around, running around. So I sat up in the back seat and I was like, where are those kids' parents? Like, why are they over there in the cemetery by themselves? And so my grandma was like, huh? Right? So They had they looked like they was at like they were leaving church. They had like a cream colored dress on. They had white ribbons in their hair. They had white berets, the white little church socks with the lace around it, white shoes. They had this yellow aura, like a tint of sunlight glowing off of them, right? So I was like, why are those kids over there playing by themselves? Like, where are their parents? And nobody saw them but me. And then when I said that, they stopped running around the tree and they looked at me as if they heard what I was saying, but the windows was all rolled up in the vehicle. I said, did they just hear me? We kept going. I knew right then something was off. But they didn't give me a creepy vibe. I knew that they were good spirits because they had the yellow aura glowing off of them, right? So another experience that I had in middle school, um, I remember waking up in my because I grew up without a father. So it was just me and my mom. I woke up in my room and um I thought I was dreaming, right? So I woke up to a lot of noise going on. At first, I thought I was dreaming until I woke up. Once I woke up and I realized I was in the room by myself, I thought my mom's TV was playing because her room was like right across the hall from mine. I thought she had her TV on. Y'all, my mama was asleep. There was no TV on in the house. I hear like a horse carriage. I hear the horses' hooves like hitting. You know, like how roads used to be paved back in the day, where like the stones was like in the road, like in England type shit. It's like the the horses' hooves was hitting the pavement because you know they wear horseshoes. So I hear the clinking from the shoes, and I hear carriages like moving, the wheels turning. I heard like wind blowing. I heard people greeting each other like they was walk. So I'm like, I look out my window, nothing. It was nighttime, and I'm like, so I put my ear to the wall. I'm like, my mama TV got to be on because what the hell is this? No TV was on. Now, why one of my ponytails ain't giving what it's supposed to give? There we go. So my heart started racing because in my room, I was hearing a whole conversation going on. It sounded like some shit back from the 1600s. So I'm like, I couldn't even go to sleep for like 2 days. I was so scared. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I would see spirits all the time and just nobody told me what spirituality was. That's why I made sure that I teach my children everything that I know. So they already laced up early on. You feel me? If anybody would have guided me or talked to me or told me anything about spirituality when I was small, I would have been so further ahead than where I am right now. But anyway, that's another story. So my grandmother was kidnapped from her birth mother, right? Her birth mother name was Mary. She is a Native American from the Choctaw tribe, which is like out of they were like in the area of Alabama in like the early 1900s. So my grandmother was kidnapped, right? She lived with her great uncle, which she thought was her father, and his wife, who she thought was her birth mother, they moved my grandma to Atlanta, right? So my mom's side of the family is like the silver spoon, wealthy background. My dad's side of the family is like the hood, the gangsters, like the OGs, like you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so my grandma lived with my grandma and her guardians. They live with the family called the Garsons, right? You could look this name up right now to the day. They still have history in Atlanta. So the Garsons was this wealthy Jewish family, right? And I said, damn, so okay. So the Garsons was a Jewish family. They lived in this mansion in Buckhead in Atlanta, right? And so my grandma was raised as Methodist. I did not know that my grandma and her guardians went to the same church that Dr. Martin Luther King used to preach at, which is called Ebenezer Church. And I remember going to this church. I took a field trip with my school. We went to that church, and I got chills when I walked into the building. Right? So I didn't know until like not too long ago, recently, that my grandma would watch this man preach. Right? So her mother was a she was a nurse aide, and then part-time she would clean the mansion as like extra income. And Kermit is the father of my grandma, allegedly, but not really. He was a chauffeur, and he would chauffeur around wealthy families. So I'm like, damn. Okay, okay, okay. So my grandma raised my mom and my uncles as Jehovah Witnesses, right? So then here I come. They ended up raising me when I was a child as Baptist. So I've been baptized and all of that. So I was the type of kid that went to church, and you know how it be that one kid in church that know every song, clapping, singing, dancing along. Like I love music. I know how to play the guitar. I know how to play the flute. I know how to play African drums. Right? So I remember being like 4, and I would look around and just be enjoying myself in church, right? And then all of a sudden, my my spirit, my curiosity, something guided me to, you know how when the pastor always being dramatic and taking a rag and dabbing his forehead and yelling, screaming, spitting on the microphone and doing all that. I'm like, yeah, he got the attention of the crowd, right? But I look behind him, it's like this life-size picture of who they said is supposed to be Jesus. But I see a pale person who was painted in the image of a corpse. And he had like long, stringy blonde hair, blue eyes, you know. And I'm looking around and I'm like, this who we praising and worshiping, right? Well, why nobody in the pulpit look like this person? Why we don't have not one church member that looks like this person? Why do we all look the way we do, and we all, are people of color, and the person who we're worshiping, why is he this pale person with stringy hair? It just wasn't giving what it was supposed to give. And at 4 years old, I knew something was off. So when I started asking questions, people started looking at me like, how old are you again? Like you this you know how when they say kids, oh, that child been here before, like they have an old soul. Like from the time I remember communicating with people would say that I have an old soul, and I still to this day have an old soul. Like I act like a little old lady on your ass, but be ready to, you feel me? Like I just I inherit my ancestors' spirit, and I welcome it and I embrace it to where it's a part of me. So my grandmother's real mother, she was murdered when she was like 26 or 27 years old. This was back in the day when liquor wasn't quite legal to be sold at a bar yet. And I want to say it was like the 40s, the 30s, the 40s, somewhere between the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. She went to this bar where Coca-Cola was still called Pop, and they sold it in the glass, you know, bottle or whatever. And she had a deranged boyfriend who was like obsessed with her. And so he stalked her, he followed her to the bar. She ordered a drink, she left it at the bar, went to go use the restroom, came back. This man put poison in her drink and she died. Like unsolved mystery type shit. So I'm like, damn, shit real out here. And that taught me to never, whenever you open a beverage, you never take your eye off of it. I don't give a damn if you're around family, friends, at a club, at church, at school. You never leave your drink and come back to it. That's a no, no. At this point, fuck that drink. Right? So whether you believe it or not, spirits are always around. You feel me? Like they're always trying to connect with us, but it's are you receiving the information? I remember also hearing this sound in my ear. This is how I knew when spirits was around. I would hear it sounded like a heartbeat in my ear with the vibration of the ocean. And it used to scare me because I would have nightmares, and I would pray for that sound to go away because it I didn't know what it was. And so they kind of backed up a little bit. They was like, if you show any sign that you're afraid or scared, then they won't really too much fuck with you like that. So moving forward, growing up in college, I end up meeting my kid's father. I have two little boys, and they are 9 and 5, right? So I met their father in college, and we were together for a total of 8 years. So in 2017, it was like the worst day of my life. We were on the phone, and this particular day, he was like from the time that I woke up, he was so eager to talk to me. Something just wasn't right about that day, right? So I had a life-changing experience to where he was murdered, right? And I was on the phone with him, and I was so traumatized to where I heard everything, everything. down to him taking his last breath, down to, the ambulance. He was shot in the stomach. He was murdered by, someone who I feel like set him up. And I remember, in the ambulance, they was asking him, to recite his name and date of birth and what today's date was. And, they were trying to keep him conscious of everything that was going on, because once he closed his eyes, that was a wrap. And it changed my life to the point to where, mind you, I have two boys. The worst thing that I had to do in my life was tell my children that their father was never coming back, right? And we were together for 8 years, so it was like we had a soul tie. And this is a person who I thought that I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and it didn't happen the way that I thought. So I had to readjust my life. Mind you, prior to him even being murdered, when I first found out I was pregnant with my first son, he ended up going to prison. When we found out that we was pregnant with our first child, this man caught a charge, went to prison. And then he told me, I don't know how much time I'm going to do. So he gave me the option to leave or stay, because he didn't want to feel like he was holding me back, right? So me being me, I'm like, loyalty isn't still in me. It's in my blood. Like, everybody not going to be loyal. A lot of people don't even know. I ain't going to say everybody don't, but a lot of people don't even understand the depth of loyalty, right? So I had the option to stay or leave. And I told him, even though I don't know how much time you're going to get, I'm going to ride for you. That's just how I rock. You feel me? So that's how we rock. I would take my jit to go see him. And, I'm talking about, it was from the letters to the pictures to the canteen to the gas money to renting vehicles to hotel room. Like, it really took a toll on me. And it really was a test of my faith as to, is you really about the shit that you say you about type shit. And I was really about that shit. You feel me? So he ended up getting out. The whole time we was still together. So when he gets out, after he do a bid, 2 weeks of this after he got out, I found out I'm pregnant with our second son. I'm like, God, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, bro. You been out and now I'm pregnant. So when he get out, we found out, that I'm pregnant with our second child. And we hit another tower moment to where, like, I've been pregnant and homeless before, like sleeping in cars type shit, like survival of the fittest type shit. Like, I went without eating so that I could make sure he ate type shit. Like, I was like, when pressure is really being applied, are you gonna fold, or are you gonna survive type shit? That was the type of time that I was on. And it was just like, as long as I had, my partner, we gonna thug this shit out. We gonna figure this shit out. And life is just crazy. And the whole time God had hands on me. Like, the whole time I was still protected. The whole time I was still like making it. And I just thank God for, you know, everything that I've been through, because it molded me into who I am. you know, when I really make it, I'm going to create programs for, you know how the government always want to, they took the Black Panther Party away, and then they want to create WIC programs and housing and all this for women and children, but then they neglect the men and leave them out for dead and stuff like that. Like, nah, that shit ain't cool. It's you know, men out here that are single fathers that do everything that they can for their children, and they still don't get the resources or the help or the support that they deserve. And that shit take a toll on you mentally, physically, emotionally. So I said, you know what? When I make it, which I already made it, I'm just, I started from the bottom. You feel me? Working my way up to the top. And I'm working my way up there fast. You feel me? I went from the previous appreciation post, went from having 1 follower to 5 followers to 10 followers to 20 followers. Now look at me now. When I have 100,000 followers and 1 million views, we're gonna look back on these old live videos and we're gonna be like, damn, look at Sus. Like, y'all remember when she was here, and then now look at her. Like, y'all have the access that I'm giving y'all into my life to watch my growth, because I want to inspire people to find their purpose. You feel me? I help people even when I don't have it. When I say I help people, if somebody needs somebody to vent to, I give them good advice. I never give them bad advice or advice that won't help them. Don't you hate when people want to hear what you got going on, and then they be like, "Oh, so what you gonna do now?" You're supposed to help that person figure out how to get out their situation. You're supposed to help people. You're supposed to motivate each other. It takes a village to raise a child. A lot of people are misguided in this life, and we're being preyed on, because we're the most spiritual people on earth that walk these grounds. And these are our ancestor grounds. You feel me? That's why so much is going on right now and chaos in the world, because a lot of this shit was built on lies. And it's easier to lie than it is to tell the truth. It's easier to make fun of people instead of be vulnerable and tell your story. So I just want y'all to know that if anybody feel any type of way about what I'm doing, it's like you don't know where people come from. You don't know how I got here. You don't know what it took for me to get like the courage to put yourself out there. Nobody taught me how to have charisma on camera. Nobody taught me how to be funny, how to, tarot cards. Those are just 90% of the world are visual learners. I don't need tarot cards to tell you about yourself, to read you. But if you're a visual learner, the pictures help you understand what I'm saying or how I get the information that I get. Just like when you watch TV, you could use your imagination and accomplish all type of shit. But if you sit and watch TV, then you're letting someone else give you a visualization as to what something is supposed to be. So, in other words, you know, this shit is in me. And that's my purpose, is to share it with the world, to enlighten others, and to make other people feel comfortable with doing whatever it is that they are inspired to do whatever make you happy, but find your purpose. That's the goal. That's why we're having this experience that we call life. Find your purpose. Stop wasting time with things that are of the world. Because material shit you can't take with you when you die. You can't. But if you fulfill your purpose, you live out your destiny, your name will be written in the book of life, of eternity. Like, people will be talking about me when I'm gone. My name will live on. My legacy will live on. That's part of my purpose. My spiritual ranking is so high right now. I can hear my ancestors clapping. And it's only up from here. So before anybody start hating on what I'm doing, understand that I went through a lot of shit to get here. I'm young as hell, and my life is like a movie. And I still got the rest of my life to live. So if you hating now, then I can imagine what y'all gonna be saying when I'm sitting back and reaping the seeds that I've sown. And it's gonna happen like before your eyes. So I promote love. I don't promote hate. And if you hate, then maybe it's something in you that you need to heal from. So that you can find your purpose. So that's the message. Find your purpose. What is your purpose? Ask yourself that. If you don't know what your purpose is, close your eyes, talk to God, ask God, God, what is my purpose? God, reveal to me things that I need to know to take the necessary steps to get closer to my destiny and finding my purpose. I want to know what my purpose is, and it's going to come to you. You have to want to have the desire to know what it is. But if you never ask yourself, what is my purpose? Then your journey hasn't started yet. So yeah. I love y'all. Find your purpose before it's too late.